Good morning, everyone. You're very welcome to this webinar in relation to LIA's Postgraduate Diploma in Financial Planning. My name is Brian Dunphy. I am a graduate of this program and a certified financial planner, but I'm also one of the points of contact for prospective students of the program to engage with regards to any questions you might have. So after this call, I will give you my contact details, and anyone who wishes to reach out to me for any questions, they can do at any time. So what I propose to do on this very short webinar is to initially just give you some information about the programme, and then we will hear from two of our lecturers, James Skehan and Olive Reid, where you'll get some insights into their modules and some um, thoughts on what you would learn from the programme, and then you'll have the opportunity at the end of the webinar to ask any questions that you might have for me. So what I propose to start with is in relation to some of the common questions that I might get from prospective students is, firstly, what order are the modules possible to be taken, and how can you structure your program? There are 2 semesters for the postgraduate diploma in financial planning. The first one is from September to December, where the modules available are modules 1 and 2, Principles and Practices of Financial Planning, and Risk Management and Insurance Planning. But also in this semester, some students who are continuing their way through the program would also be undertaking modules 5 and 6, retirement planning and integrated financial planning. The second semester where modules are available is from February to May. And the modules that are available in this term are modules 3, investment management, and module 4, tax and estate planning. We also offer the retirement planning module through both semesters. So both terms, the retirement planning module is one that some students wish to take at different stages of their program. Any of the modules that you can see there can be undertaken at any time. So there's no specific order that you need to take them in, but we do suggest a pathway where students who are planning to work their way towards CFP designation over a time frame of 18 months, where you might consider doing them in the order of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And what that might look like is as illustrated on screen now. Ideally, the timetable is structured that over 18 months, students can undertake them in order of 1 to 6, studying 2 modules at a time. However, with the potential for other unexpected life events that impact our plans, the schedule allows students to restructure their plans to overcome any potential hurdles that might appear along the way. So you can actually take the modules in any particular order apart from doing module 6. It's not possible to do that one unless you've completed all the other modules or are finishing your last modules at the same time. The structure, it does afford students the opportunity to recharge their batteries as well, where we have a summer break. So you'll see the terms are September to December and February to May, but there is no summer term. And it gives you an opportunity to focus on other activities in our lives, such as our day-to-day jobs and family and other commitments. Another question that I commonly get is, if you cannot attend a scheduled class, are the lectures recorded? Yes, the lectures are recorded. So all lectures for each module are recorded, and they're available to students in their online resources within 48 hours of the live lecture. So you can access them within 48 or 24 hours of the lecture, but we say 48 hours to allow for editing. If a student is unable to attend a live class, they will have the ability to look back at the recording of the lecture in advance of your next scheduled class. Obviously, the only negative of looking at a recording is that in the live class, you have the opportunity of asking your lecturer questions on specific topics that are being delivered. However, you do always have the opportunity to submit queries to your lecturer via email outside of class time. So the lecturer can address any questions that you have based on a recording at the next scheduled lecture. The other advantage of the recordings, and this is a significant one, is that the benefit of having access to the suite of recordings is that you can use them as a reference material for your revision plan. And you can navigate to the material that you wish to revise at different stages of your preparation for exams. The next topic that I'll cover is in relation to how the modules are assessed. And all assessments of this program are undertaken online. And This course structure is structured in a way where you're assessed continuously throughout your 12 weeks of your module. Modules 1 to 5 have 2 in-class assessments worth 25% of the overall marks per module. Module 6, which is the final module, has 1 in-class assessment worth 25% of the overall mark. These in-class assessments are undertaken online and are scheduled to be undertaken as part of the lecture schedule. So over your 12 weeks, 2 of the in-class assessments will be done during your lecture time. The advantage of these assessments is that the material assessed in these assessments is specifically related to the material delivered in the class up to the date of the assessment. So it encourages students to embed a good operating rhythm to their studies, and it disciplines you with regards to your learning approach. For each of the modules, there is an end of module exam, and for modules 1 to 5, that final exam is worth 50% of your overall mark. And then for module 6, instead of an exam, there is a case study project completed over the course of the lectures worth 75% of your overall mark. And for each module, the pass mark is 40%. So your result is made up of the results from the in-class assessment and your final assessment. And your results added together is what you're aiming to achieve 40% or more to pass the module. Another common question that I get a lot from students or prospective students is, what's the time commitment involved for each module? The course is designed to be very flexible with regards to your time management. The time commitment for attendance of lectures is 2.5 hours per lecture, and there's 12 scheduled lectures per module. The course is delivered online via Zoom lectures. There's no commute and there's no physical aspect to the actual course. So it does work with our work-life balance, and it is one of the barriers that would have been an issue previously would have been being able to attend lectures. So now with it all being online, the barrier with regards to attending has been removed and has been for quite a number of years and has been running very successfully. And lectures, as I said, for each module are 2.5 hours long, and there are 12 lectures per module. The lectures for each module are on different nights during the working week. So for anyone who would be concerned about how do I do 2 modules per semester, they are on different nights. And this is in order to give students the choice of undertaking 2 modules, if you wish, per semester. As the course is assessed via continuous assessment, the structure encourages and rewards students to embed a good operating rhythm to their study and stay honest with yourself with regards to the work you're expected to do in order to be successful. The lecture notes for each class will be available to each student in their learning resources in advance of their lecture. And I personally would recommend students allocate time during their week in advance of each class to read their notes for their next lecture in order to get the most from their time with their tutor. And then finally, each module will involve some aspect of homework where the lecturer will provide material to read or questions to attempt to, in order to practice the learnings that you're embedding. And these are very important in order to ensure that you are taking on board the material that is being delivered through the course. And in order to achieve the best success from their studies, students should allocate time during their week to undertake this work, which is prescribed outside of class time. So what I propose now is to let you hear from 2 of our lecturers and get their thoughts on regards to their modules. And then at the end of that, I will answer any questions that you might have through a Q&A. You will have the ability to populate your questions into the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen.
Buddy, really delighted to be able to participate in this webinar and to give my on the course. I think the one central theme throughout the course is change. Over the last 4 years, there's been more change in the pensions industry compared to the 40 years that I've been working in the industry. And one of the biggest challenges that I have for every semester is to update the slides and update the textbook to reflect, what's just happened. At the moment, I'm updating the textbook to take into account, for instance, the details of the Finance Act 2024, because that's going to have a major bearing on whether an individual goes down the PRSA route or the occupational pension scheme route in terms of pension funding. I'd like to go back and just stress the significance of the continuous assessment. From marking the papers, it's very clear it's very clear to students that have actually put the effort in and have scored well in the continuous assessments. And as has been mentioned, the assessments carry 25% of the marks. So my strong advice is get stuck in from the very start. Attend as many lectures as you possibly can, because the idea of the lectures is to bring the textbook to life. And one of the best things that I've found and experienced with the lectures is the participation. One of the great things as well is that you can ask a question that goes to everybody, or if you're a bit unsure about the question, you can ask the question directly to me and I can answer it without giving out your name. Which is a great help for people that might be unsure of a certain question. There is no such thing as a silly question, and really the lectures work best of all when people participate. We've just finished the latest course, and they'll be sitting for a final exam now in a couple of weeks, and we had I think it was over 110 students attending the lectures, and it really was a great experience. But to me, the big lesson is get started at the very start. It is a 12-week commitment. It is a level 9 course, but the knowledge you will gain and the practical knowledge you gain from the lectures is really invaluable.
Brilliant to hear, James. And James, I know we know each other a number of years now, having been a student. I certainly, and I speak to students who have graduated your course over the years, and it is a trend that, and this is my experience, is that I maximize the opportunity of those continuous assessments, and it gave me great relief and comfort to know that the actual academic piece and passing the course became easier because I had bagged so many marks that were available to me in those assessments, because you stayed on top of the material from the start, you really put the work in. But then I started to get real value from the course in the latter weeks because I was more relaxed. I really started to feel the actual passing of the course is achievable, and I'm now getting value that I'm actually putting into practice day in, day out, week on week. You don't have to wait for 12 weeks to say I've learned something new here. You're learning every week, and you can apply it into your job the following morning, which is an incredible thing to take from a course like this. And as well as giving yourself the best chance of getting the result you deserve, as long as you stay on top of it from the start, you'll start to really get the value of the actual reason you're doing this course is to make you a better financial planner and a retirement planning advisor. Would that be a similar experience?
No, absolutely. And as well as that, by putting the effort in to the continuous assessment will actually give you the confidence. You'll actually grow in confidence as the weeks pass by. And, we start off dealing with the state pension. And the good thing about the state pension is that I qualified for it early in the year. So I actually went through the whole application process. I now own receipt of the state pension. So, I can give first-hand experience of that. We then talk about pension provision for the different types of individuals, whether they're private sector or public sector. I do a fair bit of detail on defined benefit schemes, because whilst students mightn't handle defined benefit schemes day to day, they will inevitably come across individual clients who are members of defined benefit schemes, either active members or deferred members. And to me, that's one of the big learning curves within the whole program. The new pension regulations, the likes of IORP2, the Pension Authority Code of Practice, big emphasis on that, because that is shaping the current and future pension landscape. And we've seen a major shift away from standalone schemes and into master trusts. We've seen PRSAs become centre stage, particularly for business owners. And the pension simplification program from the government that started a couple of years ago is really starting to gather pace. So it is absolutely a very, very live program dealing with what's happening in the industry now and what's going to happen in the industry going forward.
So to attain the Financial Planning Risk Advisor designation, or the FPRA, you must complete one module called Risk Management and Insurance Planning. This module is one of the modules of the Postgraduate Diploma in Financial Planning, so it can be completed as part of this program or on a standalone basis. Olive, I studied this module previously, and one thing I can say honestly is I really enjoyed the course content and the collaborative approach. And having known you for a while now, I know that you're going to bring that to the classroom very much so. But can I ask you to give us an insight into what students might expect from the course over the 12 weeks and what the overall learning outcome you hope students will achieve?
Sure, Brian, absolutely. Well, I agree with you. Firstly, it is quite an enjoyable course. I think the course really is designed to ensure that students are well equipped to tackle the growing complexities around financial planning in practice. I believe it will help students to develop bespoke solutions for their clients, ensuring always that a holistic approach is always taken. And that often doesn't happen when we're giving financial advice. We can often miss out parts. So I think this course makes sure that we have a holistic approach always in mind. So in short, I think what this course does, it ensures that students, when they finish, they have the confidence that they are now equipped to give best-in-class financial advice for each client that they meet. Obviously, given the title of the course, there's a lot of talk on risk, and we'll be going through risk in a lot of detail. We'll talk about the risks that face individuals on their financial journey, be it pre-retirement right up to within retirement. We look at these risks in detail. There's 11 in total that we will go into in detail, and we'll look at the ways we can mitigate those risks or indeed reduce them. So some of those risks you'll be familiar with. You're looking at mortality risk, longevity, market risk, inflation risk, interest rate risk, among others. One risk that I absolutely find very fascinating is behavioural risk. We actually have one of the lectures devoted to talking about behavioural risk, why people actually make the decisions they make. So it's quite an interesting topic. So I look forward to particularly to covering that in a lecture. As well as the risks, we also talk about, getting a better insight on how to evaluate the various insurance products that are on the market to obviously alleviate those risks, such as critical illness and life cover, income protection, and we even also cover protection for businesses. What I do want to mention actually as well, there is a small element of the course that covers business accounts. You may ask, why are we covering business accounts in a risk management module? But what we're doing here is we want to ensure that the credibility of the advice that you offer to clients who are business owners is there. I think if you're meeting, for example, someone who's in a partnership or a limited company, it's important that you're able to take into account how well their business is doing when you're giving them advice, again, to reach the holistic nature of the advice that we want to achieve from doing this course. Brian, you mentioned about the collaborative approach to the course. I want to continue that. The previous lecturer, Brian, was really, really good at that, and I want to continue that. So the lectures, we will work together on various case studies, and we will learn from each other's experiences when we're going through those case studies. So in short, participation and discussions are an important part of the learning process, and I want to encourage that to continue. We will also work with our financial calculators. You will get a financial calculator on signing up to do the course, and I want that to become your friend basically by the end of the course, that you are familiar with how to use the various functions, and that more importantly, you're confident with the number that comes out of the calculator at the end of the day, that you can nearly be able to do a spot check that it looks reasonable, you're not out a decimal place or two. So over the 12 weeks, it's actually not a long-term commitment. It's 12 weeks, but it's actually 10 weeks of lectures. Lectures will run on a Wednesday from 6 to about 8:30. And there's also 2 weeks where we'll have a continuous assessment exam. So we have a continuous assessment exam in week 6 and also in week 9. So that will cover the material covered up to those points. The week 9 exam is actually purely on the accounts, on the business accounts. And when you finish that, you no longer do business accounts anymore. That's not covered in the final exam. Another, I suppose, good point with this course is that those 2 continuous assessment exams, they're both weighted at 25% each. So it just means your final exam is only, 50% of the course. So it definitely helps to alleviate any feeling of dread with the final exam. You've already covered 50% of the marks. And finally, just again, Brian, you touched on this. There's flexibility associated with this program. It can be undertaken as an individual module in its own right, or it can be used as a stepping stone to progress through the other modules that are needed for the postgraduate diploma in financial planning.
I hope you all found those snippets from both James Keehan and Olive Reid very informative and answering some further information that you might be questioning about the courses. At this moment, I'd offer you the opportunity to ask me any questions that you might have. I have just some other information to relay to you while you're submitting any questions. For those of you who might be wondering what nights of the week are the modules on, I can tell you that the principles and practices of financial planning, which is module 1, is scheduled to commence on the 1st of September, which is the Monday night. The retirement planning module is scheduled to commence on the 2nd of September, which is Tuesday nights. And risk management and insurance planning is scheduled to commence on the 3rd of September, and it will be on Wednesday nights. Enrollment is now open. So for those of you who are considering enrolling for the modules, enrollment is available through our website, and the online application process. It is important that you populate as much information in each section that you're required to, in particular around your entry requirements. So the entry requirements for this program is that you either have the QFA plus 3 years experience in financial services or a business related degree. And what we look for is the evidence in relation to that. And in particular, when you're going down the route of the experience in financial services, we just need you to document your career experience in detail so that we don't have to go back to you with any further questions. If anybody has any other questions, please feel free to submit them. Do the continuous assessments have to be taken on the dates included in the key date section of the website? Can they be done at another time? Unfortunately, the assessment schedule is as outlined, and the assessments have to be undertaken on the specific dates. If somebody in advance of the course has an issue with the continuous assessment dates, what we would encourage you to do is contact us directly, and we can see what we can do to facilitate sitting them at another date in around that time frame. But we would need to talk to individuals on a one-to-one basis on that basis. What I would encourage students to look at is the actual schedules in relation to the lectures and the assessments, and make sure that you know the dates and check your own personal calendars to see that you are available. In relation to the final assessment, there's certainly no flexibility about that for each module. They have to be undertaken on the specific Saturday that they're scheduled for. I hope that answers your question. For those that submitted. As I said, enrollment is now open, and it will continue to be open up until the 20th of August. What I'd encourage you to do is, if you are considering undertaking one module or the program in its entirety, or starting your journey, please feel free to reach out to me directly, and I can hopefully answer any additional questions that you might have. You can contact me via email. My email is brian.dunphy@lia.ie. And as I said, the reason we have our enrollment open at the moment is that there will be a certain limit on capacity in the class, because we want to ensure students get full engagement with their tutor, so that you have the opportunity to speak to them on a one-to-one basis throughout your lecture time. So we have a capacity limit, and we want to make sure that students who are genuinely considering undertaking the program get their space in the virtual class. I have another question here. Can you do the course over a longer period than 18 months? Absolutely. As I said earlier, the course is designed to be flexible and change with our own plans, and we don't know what real life events happen in the future. So it has the flexibility with regards to you can start it at one module at a time. You can start it now, and you can pause for a certain amount of time and come back and complete your journey. There is no specific time frame where you have to complete the 6 modules. It's just where somebody wants to progress towards CFP at the quickest route, the quickest way of doing that is 2 modules at a time. However, we would have quite a number of students doing 1 module at a time, and we would have students who are working around their own life events such as weddings, children, and they will take a break from one semester to the next. They may have to pause and come back to it when it is most convenient for them. So the course is very flexible in that way. You might have also seen from the slides earlier, 3 of the modules do carry individual designations. So as you complete those modules, you also add to your credentials the RPA, which is for the retirement planning module, which stands for Retirement Planning Advisor, the FPRA, which is associated with the Risk Management and Insurance Planning module, and that stands for Financial Planning Risk Advisor, and the SIA is associated with the Investment Management, and that stands for Specialist Investment Advisor. So as you complete those modules, you attain those designations on successful completion of that module, and you don't have to wait for the full 6 modules to be completed to add those to your credentials. They automatically are attained once you complete that module. So it's not only a journey towards CFP, it's a journey to adding credibility to you as an advisor as you work your way through the program. And those modules would be ones that some individuals decide to do on a one-off basis. So they're not necessarily working towards CFP. They just decide to do individual micro-credential modules within this program. What we would encourage is if you decide to do one module, we will engage with you and see how you found that module and if you have any thoughts about working towards any of the others. Is there any there's a question here, is there any suggested recommended pattern to complete the first 5 modules? The ideal route is to complete modules 1 and 2 in September, which is principles and practices of financial planning and the risk management and insurance planning modules. Then if you were to work your way through modules 3 and 4 in February, 3 is tax and estate planning and 4 would be investment management. And then finally, you'd come back around to September again to complete your last 2 modules, which would be retirement planning and integrated personal financial planning. So hopefully that has answered your question. If somebody was looking to complete the module within 18 months and the 5 modules leading to the last one, which is the integrated personal financial planning. And in that module, it really pulls together everything that you've learned from all the other 5 modules within the program and tests your ability to put it into practice in a financial plan scenario. Okay, just check if we have any more questions. I'm conscious of time that we have 2 minutes left for the scheduled time. If you don't have any other questions, what I will encourage you to do is you'll find all the relevant information that you need in relation to the program on the LIA website, which is www.lia.ie. But you also can reach out to any member of the education team or myself directly, as I said earlier, and we will support you with regards to your plan of undertaking the course and answer any questions that you might have. We also are part of the team throughout the journey with you. So what I would say is the education team and myself are there in the background to support you with any queries, and we look to hear from you as you're studying throughout your 12 weeks of each module. We look for feedback and we want to hear from you, and we want to support you with any issues that you might have, and we tend to engage with the lecturers on a regular basis just to see how the courses are going. One other unique thing about the lecturers that you may have picked up on is they are all very experienced practitioners in the industry. They're not just academics, but they all work and have worked in the industry for quite a number of years. So they bring the real life experience to the program and bring it to life for you. And that is invaluable. And a lot of the lecturers I would have worked with are now colleagues in the industry for me. So, you know, they will not just be your teacher for 12 weeks. They'll be part of your life in the financial planning industry, and they can become very good sources of information and colleagues. So it is another piece to the journey. It's a network that you'll create, and you'll become part of a unique body of certified financial planners in Ireland. So look, I'll thank you for all your participation today. As I said, if you have any questions, please submit them to us after the event. And we look forward to supporting you with your journey towards undertaking the postgraduate diploma in financial planning. Thanks a million, and we'll hopefully see you all soon.